It's amazing how the media finds these fake connections amongst people in the Trump orbit that don't exist. They colluded with Russia, totally makes up this fake connection. Yet these real connections are right in front of you, and nobody's even remotely curious. I had to digest this a few different ways. It's like, is this even possible? We all know now that General Mike Flynn was set up. We know it. The Obama administration spied on the Trump team. Flynn knew about it. Flynn, then the incoming National Security Advisor, General Flynn, for President Trump, becomes a target of an elaborate FBI scheme to frame him. They interview him. They say they asked him about sanctions. They didn't. It's not even in their paperwork. They then frame him for lying about the sanctions they didn't ask about. And then the hapless, corrupt Mueller probe takes over and actually prosecutes Mike Flynn. Now, all kinds of material proving Flynn's innocence, that he didn't lie to the FBI, has since emerged, including a devastating note from an FBI manager saying, "What is our goal here? To set him up or to get him to lie so we get him fired?" Who writes that? Like, who writes that unless this guy is actually cooperating for the FBI in the investigation, Bill Prystep, the guy who wrote the note? Or, part two, this is the dumbest human being on the planet. I'm trying to set up Joe for a bank robbery. I take a note. Do I set up Joe using false video? Or do I set up Joe by putting a Joe dummy in the bank and pretending it's Joe with the Elvis hair? Signed, Dan Bongino, what is it, May 26, 254, 310? I don't even know the dates. There we go. Signed, DB. Who does that? The answer is only two people write notes about trying to frame a three-star general. One who's really concerned he's being brought into an elaborate conspiracy he's going to go down for, so he's covering his rear end, if you know what I mean. Or number two, the dumbest FBI agent in the history of humankind, which I don't think this guy is. So now the government's trying to drop the case. And the judge in the case, air quotes judge, this is a fake judge at this point. This is not anyone acting like an independent arbiter of justice. Judge Sullivan, in what should be a standard kind of just pro forma, okay, we're dropping the case because the government prosecutes and I'm the judge. You don't want to prosecute, I'm going to drop the case. The judge will not drop the case. He wants opinion writers, third-party people to write why the government shouldn't drop the case. The judge this weekend I had to read this story twice because I thought it was a joke. The judge this weekend, Fox News, gets his own lawyer. The judge, Joe, is lawyering up. The judge is lawyering up. How the hell is the judge lawyering up? Fox News, in the show notes today, Sam Dorman. Judge in Flynn case hires lawyer as appeals court review his decision not to dismiss. What the? This is like bizarro Superman land for the legal profession. There's a judge in a case lawyering up. Now, I always go to Margot Cleveland or Leslie McAdoo at the Federalist when I want to see good, or Andy McCarthy, when I want to see really good legal analysis. And Margot Cleveland had written that in a case like this, what's unusual is not that the judge is lawyered up. Some other judges will get other lawyers to write that stuff because he won't drop the case, and the court above him, the appeals court, is demanding a notice from him about why he's not dropping the case. She said what's very unusual on her Twitter, which I found interesting, is not that he's getting a lawyer, it's that he's not dropping the case. Like, this is unheard of. That's the part that's unusual. You shouldn't even need a lawyer. Now, if you're a viewer of this show and you're, of course, 2-3 years ahead of the news cycle, you're never going to believe who he hires as a lawyer. Now, you may be saying, there's no way he hired the Obama fixer, Obama's White House lawyer, Catherine Rumler. Well, you'd be right. No, you'd be right. He did not hire Rumler. But let me show you this old article from the Washington Post that's now relevant again. I bring up this old stuff again. So here's a Washington Post article about the Obama fixer. Remember Catherine Rumler, if you're a regular viewer? She's the Obama fixer. She's fixed the Benghazi thing, and I'm using air quotes here, the Secret Service scandal, the IRS scandal. She's a lawyer for this witness for Mueller. She's the lawyer for the DNC. She's Obama's lawyer. She's the lawyer for Susan Rice. Catherine Rumler always appears when there's Obama cleanup on aisle 4, whenever. So here's this old article by Phil Rucker and Juliet Elperin. Washington Post. On IRS issues, senior White House aides were focused on shielding Obama. The article is about Catherine Rumler. Now, there's an interesting quote at the end of this. This is really terrific stuff. Check this piece out at the end. Beth Wilkinson, a Washington lawyer and former DOJ official, said Rumler's focus on the law is considered a virtue in the White House. So this lawyer, Beth Wilkinson, seems to really love the Obama fixer. Wilkinson says about Rumler, she stays in her lane, which people appreciate. That's hilarious. Said Wilkinson, a close friend of Rumler's. She really sees her role as a counsel to the president to protect the presidency and provide legal advice. She doesn't try to do other people's jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, who is Judge Sullivan's lawyer? Beth Wilkinson, the friend of the Obama fixer. Now, you may say, fair enough, because we always give both sides. It's only the right thing to do. Well, Beth Wilkinson also represented Brett Kavanaugh, the Trump-selected Supreme Court justice, of course, confirmed by the Supreme Court, who we know. Fair enough. That for me, that means nothing, though. That doesn't mean anything. This woman is a close personal friend of Rumler who keeps appearing in this case. Rumler is the one who authored the note about Susan Rice, suggesting Susan Rice's email to herself on January 20th, that she was just recommended to do it on the White House Counsel, trying to cover her butt. It's just the Obama fixer, ladies and gentlemen, seems to appear all the time. And again, this is the subject of my next book, which I hope to finish today. The subject of my next book is Follow the Money. Follow the connections. These people all know each other. All of them. Obama's fixer, his White House lawyer, Kathy Rumler, who knows Andy Weissman of the Mueller probe. They worked on the Enron case, who was involved in trying to cover up Benghazi, try to cover up the IRS scandal, try to legally cover up the Secret Service problems they had, she was the lawyer for a key Mueller witness, George Nader, who was later accused of being a pedophile. She's the lawyer for the DNC, Kathy Rumler. The DNC, who's being sued by Carter Page about the fake dossier. She's the lawyer for Susan Rice, trying to cover her butt for the framing of Mike Flynn. I mean, the Obama fixer of all the lawyers in America, either her or her buddies, constantly show up when there's an Obama cleanup on aisle 4. Does anybody find that even a little bit interesting? Anyone at all? It's amazing how the media finds these fake connections amongst people in the Trump orbit that don't exist. They colluded with Russia, totally makes up this fake connection. Yet these real connections are right in front of you, and nobody's even remotely curious.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.